Welcome back, traders and investors. This is Joel Alcana of Benzinga's Pre-Market Info, and we have a very special guest on today. We have Alan Brochstein, who's an expert on marijuana stocks. He goes by the CFA. He's a cannabis financial analyst. He runs the 420 Investor on MarketFi and has an upcoming webinar, How a Penny Stock Skeptic in Regulatory is how a penny stock is posting major gains. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's good to be on.
Okay, and also I see that you're one of Seeking Alpha's most followed authors here. So, how did you get interested in this field?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've done a 180, I guess, and so to back up a few years, I started writing on Seeking Alpha in 2007, and so it's been, well, I guess this will make it 7 years in February, and I'll probably be at about 700 articles by then. So I had a pretty big following, and I share that just to fast forward to last February. There was a rather sensational article on Seeking Alpha that caught my attention, and it wasn't even that great of an article, but it ripped apart this one company. And I was really impressed with all the work the guy had done. But more impressive to me was that people were willing to pay $500 million for a penny stock. And I looked at it, I was like, holy crap, what is going on here? So I did a little bit more research. I wrote my first article that weekend. And I think I've written about 20 or 25 Seeking Alpha articles. Really made a lot of friends. I say that facetiously because I had a lot of threats, actually. But my take was, and just for a little bit of background, I've been on MarketFi since February, and I've been a CFA since 1997 and in the investment industry since '86. I'm just a regular old analyst. I know how to analyze companies. I also do technical analysis. So I started this trading platform in February. It's actually on MarketFi. It's called The Analytical Trader, and it's done great. It's fine. It's just not as interesting as this stuff. I followed the whole industry, and I don't know if you keep up with it, but in August, Dr. Gupta of CNN made this famous reversal, and all of a sudden really sparked the whole sector again. It had been in a massive collapse as these valuations have been coming down. And I just realized then, it's like, this is a real industry. We have some bad companies for the most part, but it's a real industry. And so I guess about a month later, I decided to launch 420 Investor. And you mentioned we're going to have a webinar on Monday. So anybody that's interested in that should definitely check it out. We'll be talking about it. But this has been great. I launched 420 Investor with the idea that there's all these people out there interested in marijuana stocks. And there's just no Wall Street coverage. There's no people that do what I do, which is I do two things. One, I read all the filings. That's the first thing I do. A lot of people don't do that, but that's where all the the information about the companies is. And then be able to translate that into value and use charts and stuff like that. So sorry for that long-winded response.
That's okay.
That's kind of where we are right now, and it's been great. I mean, we're going to talk Monday about my worst trade. I just took it off on. It might end up being my best trade. We'll see. It was a very marginal profit. Before that, every single trade had been at least 20% return. Just killing it. And we can talk more about why this other one might be a good trade also, even though I only made a little, just getting out of the position before bad news. But there's just not a lot of people. It's very emotional. There's no institutional money. You don't turn on CNBC and hear them talking about these companies. So news can come out and people don't know how to process it properly. So it gives us a head start. So we have a trade alert service. We just launched this. Our 2-month anniversary is probably today, actually. And we're up to almost 100 paying subscribers, lots of people interested. We just opened up a second product. It's about to launch. That's chat only. We're trying to get, and if anybody's on this, they see how cool some of these features are on the chat. We're just trying to get a chat room for people that don't necessarily care what I have to say, but just would like to talk about these stocks. But
Okay,
you
mentioned that that was a little pun there, something that could spark a rally.
Yeah.
But first of all, before we get into the individual issues, I mean, there has to be a driver. There has to be a reason why marijuana stocks are gonna
Right.
grow. So what's the driver? I mean,
There's two
you've had
drivers.
cannabis. Well, just you've had cannabis legalized in some states, and then they've pulled it back. I mean, what's your outlook? What's the driver for these stocks?
So there's two big markets, and the big way to think about it is they're both highly fragmented. I mean, look, the marijuana market's been there forever, right? I mean, longer than us. It goes back to biblical times apparently, but it's an illegal market. It's been an illegal market. It's been black market. The government, spends a lot of resources, way too many resources. And I've been, I don't use cannabis. I'd like to. It's illegal, so I don't. I have, but it's past the statute of limitations, so I can admit that. But there's two markets. One is just people that like to use it for whatever reason. Just like people like to drink alcohol or smoke, it's up to them. We're all individuals. And I've been supporting this. I'm a libertarian since age 15, and I've been supporting that forever. This isn't a political show, so we won't go there. The other one is the medical side, and that's the part that can be just a massive driver. Pull up this chart. I think you guys can do this. I didn't ask you, but pull up GWPH. GW Pharma is the name of the company. This is a real company. It's the one company that's super real in the sector. It's a UK company. They've been around since 1998. They got real guys from real companies running it. They have real partners like companies you've heard of, like Novartis, Bayer. You might not have heard of Otsuka. GWPH is the symbol.
Got it up there.
No, I'm
GW
not seeing.
Pharmaceuticals. You'll get it there in a second.
Okay.
There.
So
It's,
anyway,
go ahead.
go ahead. I was just going to say, so the medical side, this GW Pharma just exploded over the last month or so. We actually did a trade in that name, and that's one that I've been behind that on my Seeking Alpha articles for a while, but really hard to. It's a biotech. We don't need to get into all the details, but the point is, people are just figuring out that it's not the THC, although that may be helpful, but there's this other aspect, it's called a cannabinoid, that's in marijuana called cannabidiol, and they call it CBD for short. And this GW Pharma just got orphan status for, they're calling Epidiolex. It's basically a pure CBD pill, 400 milligrams, and it helps children. It'll help adults too, but they got it. They're doing a study right now, and they're able to give it to people in the United States if they have epilepsy, children with epilepsy. And so there's like 90,000 kids with epilepsy that don't respond to meds. So this is real stuff, and researchers in the United States it's a Schedule I drug. It's not easily tested. You have to jump through all these hoops to be able to do it. And this is definitely front and center now. And so so you're asking what the drivers are. There's the whole medical side. 20 states have approved medical marijuana, but it's very fragmented still. Every state is different. Some of them don't let you make edibles, or the drinks or the brownies. Some of them it can be very difficult for people. In New Jersey, they approved it a while ago, and people that signed up like over a year ago still aren't getting their meds. But on the recreational side, you mentioned two states. Yes, there's an experiment going on, Colorado and Washington. Colorado goes, anybody over the age of 21 can buy marijuana starting January 1st. It's going to be a tourist haven. And Washington, I don't know if it's July 1st or June 1st, but in the summer. So this is going to happen more and more. So there are a lot of companies out there that are going to make money. The problem is most of the stocks that are publicly traded, I told you GW Pharma, that's a NASDAQ listed, it's an ADR. The company's actually in the UK, trades on the London Stock Exchange. The rest of them are all OTC. So I love this because these OTC stocks, the information's hard to get. There's, I feel like I can really help my people understand these companies better. That's what they seem to value.
Okay, I mean, and also looking at it from the perspective of the states, I mean, I mean, it's coming in their states right now. It's being brought in illegally. It's being sold, and they're missing out on tax revenue. Now, you look at the tax revenue from the states. Some of the highest taxes you have are on alcohol and cigarettes and things like that. So this could really be a driver of revenue for the states, and then also maybe you could save some money on what you use on enforcement of laws of busting these growers and things like that. So it's kind of
You wouldn't believe how much money is wasted on locking up people in prison for petty offenses of marijuana. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you raised some good points. There's the tax revenue. There's the savings from law enforcement and prisons. But it goes much deeper than that. I mean, if you think about what the situation is right now, you have people who break the law to grow marijuana in Canada, Mexico, and also in Northern California. And all this marijuana goes, it's marked up. It's very expensive. So what ends up happening is everybody loses. The government gets nothing. The criminals get a lot. And people like you and me, that aren't you and me, but the people that use the stuff end up paying really high prices. And that has social effects also. And this is more on other drugs than marijuana, but the whole point is let's drop that point. People end up paying a lot for marijuana, a lot more than they should for marijuana because of the market conditions, and the quality might not be that great. You don't know, and so as we switch to this more legal type of environment, the prices actually come down, if you can believe it, and there's opportunities for American farmers in different states. They're going to be able to grow marijuana and make money legally, pay taxes, and it's still a huge transition right now. I mean, it's very difficult for these companies because of federal laws not really being clear. You have to pay, the taxes you have to pay are outrageous. There's all sorts of, it's a cash business. You can't get credit card processing. And this is even where it's legal in these medical states. So there's a lot of progress that needs to happen.
Okay, I'm gonna Brent Slava here, my partner here, has a few questions for you.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind, Alan. I'm just going to jump in for a couple quick questions. Do any of the tobacco companies get any consideration in your strategy? Like, I guess the prospects for Altria or Philip Morris to get involved?
No, you can't touch it till there's more federally legal, until it's federally legal. They have too much to risk. That's a good question. It comes up. I had a webinar with Jamin Shively of Diego Pellicer, which is trying to be like the #1 brand in the world for marijuana, and he answered that question very clearly. There's absolutely nothing going on. I've heard rumors that they've bought land in California. You hear this stuff all the time, but you're going to have a period of 5 to 10 years where a lot of kind of entrepreneurial companies, startups, are going to build brands, build the market, and then when it may not become federally legal for a very long time. It's going to be a slow transition, most likely. You'll have a situation where it's really state by state by state. I mean, even as they legalize marijuana in Colorado, you can't ship that anywhere. It can only be in Colorado, in Washington. So it's going to be a state by state by state. And this is for medical also. There's no cross-state because of this federal uncertainty. So if you're a big tobacco company, you can't really operate like that. So go ahead. What's your next question, Brent?
How about, are there any prospects for some of the major pharma players to sort of, make an attempt to buy out some of these guys, like you mentioned GWPH? Is there maybe any OTC names? Is that part of your strategy?
Well, so, trying to pick a stock that's going to be acquired is always a rough thing. I mean, I spend a lot of time doing it, but, you never know when that's going to happen and at what price. But the answer is, the only opportunity there for the takeover, the only company in the space is GW Pharma. They're the only ones that are, really a real company doing clinical trials. There's some other companies that say they are, but it's just GW. But this is, I talked to the CEO of GW. It seems like one of the biggest threats would be that, as it becomes more known regarding how, the effectiveness of marijuana, it's got a good safety and efficacy profile. I mean, you could see a Pfizer or somebody like that decide they're going to enter the space. And so the answer from GW Pharma's CEO is it's a really big market, and he's not concerned about it. So I guess to answer your question, I'd expect rather than just GW being acquired, although they got a huge head start, lots of IP. So I think any company that was thinking about it would want to take a look at GW. I mean, the whole company's valued at only about $450 million right now.
Okay, been pulling up charts of a lot of these stocks, and a lot of these stocks are penny stocks, and
They're all,
yeah, and you certainly don't want investors to get smoked buying these stocks. So what are some of the stocks that you would look at? I mean, obviously this GWPH is a stock. What are some of the more stable companies? I mean, when you invest in penny stocks, a lot of times they go to zero. Even though I noticed that this PHOT has had a nice run up here.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked that one up. We can talk. We've been all over that one. So
okay, go ahead.
Well, so that was one. If you, I got to pull up your page again. Sorry. Do you have the chart up? I can talk about it from looking at your chart.
Yeah, we're on a 30-second delay here.
So okay. So I'll just start talking then. So this is actually an interesting company, and you asked, at the end of the day, you want to know, can you sleep at night? And the reason why I call it flying high. That's this $10,000 MarketFi portfolio that I started with for trade alerts. I think it's worth about a little over $13,000. We started it on September 23rd. The first stock we bought was PHOT. I had just interviewed the CEO, and I ended up publishing that interview in, or actually it was a separate interview, but in Seeking Alpha, and it struck me. You can see this is good. Leave the chart like it is. You see that spike in September, a little to your left. Oh, I'm sorry, we're on a 30-second delay.
Go ahead. Everyone's on the same delay.
Okay, got it. So if you see the spike in mid-September, that was right after I published my article, and I was really sensing from talking to the CEO that he's different, and we could spend a long time, and I'll be talking about this on Monday on my webinar, that a lot of these companies are outright scams. It's real clear to me. They're outright scams, and I think I've identified 17 companies with 10 million market cap or more. I think almost half, if not half of them, are outright scams. Wouldn't touch them. And so it struck me that this guy was a little bit different, and I'm not going to go into all the details now, but just from doing my research. And I was a little late to the game, actually. Not on the price, but just I should have done the research a little earlier. It's just one guy, so many stocks. But I was able to figure out this is the one. And September 23rd, it was the first buy. It was on that dip, pretty much at the low. If you look to the right of that spike, when it pulled back, we bought. And I don't know if we've done 8 trades, 9 trades, but we've been buy sell, buy sell, buy sell. We've never had a buy higher than the. We've always every sale that we've made, we've been able to buy it back cheaper. And we took off half the position 2 days ago. But so we'll see. It'll open in a few minutes. They reported yesterday. But that's about, honestly, one of the only ones I really feel comfortable like you can sleep at night with it. And but it has its issues. They reported yesterday. They're an SEC filer. Their 10Q came out. And you read about how they finance themselves. And it's scary, I got to tell you. I'm hoping it changes for them. They're one that it could. There aren't that many penny stocks that come off of the OTC. Organova, ONVO, that's a great story. That came off the penny stocks, but you just don't find that many that make it. I think this one could make it. I really like the CEO. I like what they're doing. There's another company I like. I don't like the price. It's called MSIG. It's very simple. And
Symbol?
Mary Charlie Island Girl. And this is a new company for the most part. It wasn't a reverse merger. Most of these penny stocks are reverse mergers. This was a little bit different. It was a guy buying a company and renaming it, and he bought the company because they had some technology. This is a very simple story, and I feel like people can sleep with this one too if they get it at the right price. But because of the guy's I think he's very honest, the guy doing it, and I like the way he's approaching. But you've heard of e-cigs before. They're like nicotine fixes for people that don't want to smoke anymore, but you take liquid nicotine and you vaporize it. Very popular, these e-cigs. And then obviously we've talked about marijuana and what's going on there, and you're going to have, I think the big thesis there is you're going to have a lot of people like me who, when marijuana is legal, we might try again, and we don't know how to roll joints or whatever. And the MSIG is a vaporizer. You put either the marijuana the leaf in, or you could put, nowadays people apparently use wax. And so either one of those will work. Most of these other things use an oil or a liquid. And so they sell these things for just $10. It's unbelievable. It works. I have one. I didn't use it on marijuana, but I used it just to see how it works. I put something else in there and combusted it, and
we wouldn't judge you if you did.
I don't need. I was at dinner with some other investment professionals last night, and they were really impressed with what I'm doing. But they said, we don't want to hear about you getting. We were talking about the FBI going into one of my clients' offices, unrelated to his business, but related to somebody that worked there. And they said, yeah, we don't want to hear about the FBI bothering you, Alan. So, yeah. But anyway, the MSIG is something worth checking out. That's a company that I think anybody looking at the sector should at least evaluate.
Okay, we'll see. We're going to wrap things up here. The market is open here for action. We're going to go some of the early action here. I just wonder if there were any questions coming out of the Options House chat room. We'll try and get to those real quickly. But Alan, thank you very much for that thoughtful analysis on the marijuana stocks. I think as more states get into approving it and legalizing it here, there could be some growth in these stocks. So thank you very much for having us on.
Sure.
And perhaps in a couple
weeks.
If I
could share one parting word, just you raise a good point about things changing. What's really going to change for investors, and what I'm really looking forward to, I've already done it a few times, you have new companies entering the public market. We've had like 3 or 4 just since I launched. So this is what's going to be exciting. I mean, I can tell you about the companies that are there now, but really, you're going to start to see, I hope, more and more legitimate companies enter the public market. But thanks for having me.
Well, before you go, we do, out of the chat room here, two quick questions. One is on MJNA.
Sure.
If you're following that stock, there's a penny stock. What's your opinion on that?
I love-hate. That was the company that article was written about that kind of sparked my initial foray into this. And I know this company extremely well, maybe too well sometimes, and it's one of these things like I mentioned the CBD before, and they are able to ship. They import hemp and turn it into the CBD. It's all legal. They're the only company in the country that can do this, where they take the hemp and turn it into CBD and sell it to people like you and me. And CBD for people like you and me can be used for a variety of things, inflammation. Trying to think, you can look up. There's a lot of things that CBD can be used for, and anybody that's paying attention might want to use CBD. So they have some good things going on, but oh my God, what a mess the company is! And some news came out last night. They're being sued by their partner, and it's always something with this company. And so we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that they have a lot of stuff to clean up, and I'm hoping that they move in that direction. But
well, if the worst thing you can do if you buy this stock is lose 14 cents, right?
Well, that's 100%. So
okay.
I was actually optimistic, but some news came out, and I'm kind of on the sidelines on the name right now.
Okay. All right, Alan. Thanks for being on.
All right.
Have a good day in the markets, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.